Hello.
Hi, good morning, Mickey.
Mickey here.
Hey, Dave Lawrence at 105.9, The Big Kahuna.
Is this the Big Kahuna?
This is The Big Kahuna. How are you, man? Thank you.
Hey, Kahuna. What's up?
I appreciate you taking some time.
No problem. What's up?
We're just going to do a quick phoner. Dennis McNally set this up for me, and I'm going to use it basically to promote the Closing of Winterland DVD and 4-CD set.
Go ahead.
Excellent. And at the end, Mickey, would you be generous enough to do a handful of IDs?
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It's 105.9 The Big Kahuna, Honolulu's only classic rock. Dave Lawrence with you on the Workforce Blocks at noon. And joining me now to talk about the incredible new 2 DVD set and 4 CD set, The Closing of Winterland, as well as other related topics, would be one of the most legendary drummers and percussionists in all of rock. Certainly one I've seen live more than any other but his partner, Billy Kreutzmann. It's an honor to welcome to 105.9 The Big Kahuna from the Grateful Dead and now The Dead, and also a solo artist, drummer, percussionist, and Grammy Award winner, Mickey Hart. Aloha, Mickey.
Aloha, Kahuna.
Thank you for taking a couple minutes to speak with us out here.
My pleasure.
Before we get into the Closing of Winterland, I wanted to congratulate you on being honored at the Music Has Power Awards December 1st in New York City. Gwyneth Paltrow, the MC there. Very impressive, man.
Yeah, it's good work. I mean, that's where, science and healing and music, that's the next frontier. That's one of the most exciting things in music now.
What are some of the things that you feel brought this award your way?
Well, what happens is when you play music for people who have motor impaired diseases like Alzheimer's and dementia, they start to reconnect. We're trying to find the code. What rhythms do what part of the brain lights up when you play what kind of rhythm, and now the science, the big science is starting to look at it. And so I've done a lot of work in the field.
That is fantastic, using music.
I mean, really, in the field with the Grateful Dead. We know that it works on thousands of people and on ourselves, but we don't really know what the science is. It's sort of seat of the pants with us now, so this is about the science.
Right, you've sort of seen both fronts, if you will.
Yeah, indeed. Well, first you have to go out there and find out that it really works so you really can believe in it. And then you have to convince the science, and so they're looking at the brain before, during, and after what they call an auditory driving experience. And that's what's going on at the Institute.
And checking out how music affects you. I get it, like a key that could get a certain response or change a condition, if you will.
Exactly.
That's really good, man. It's good work, man. Thanks for doing that stuff, Mickey, helping us all out like that.
Well, we're all going to be old soon, and we're all going to need all the help we can get. So music is one of those incredible powers that are really kind of untapped, and now it's just like, okay, feels good, or every once in a while you'll get hit by it. But if you knew how it worked, you could use it. Someday you'll see that doctors will be able to prescribe for music. It's not too far off.
What you said about untapped is very true. You're certainly right. I think we are just at the beginning of knowing what music can offer us. And I think you've, in your solo life, tried to illustrate that a lot. You have a new release, I've noticed, The Best of Mickey Hart, Over the Edge and Back.
Yeah. The best or the worst of, whatever you call it. Yeah, it's just an ongoing work in progress.
What eras does that draw from?
It's all my percussive works from Diga from 1973, 74, whatever that year was, until my last record.
So it was something you personally oversaw?
Yeah, I mixed it. I remixed it all in surround, 5.1, and also in stereo. So they're all new mixes and in 5.1s. It was a neat project.
I've also seen you have another thing I'm very interested in now, a new book I saw at your site, mickeyhart.net, for people who are interested in checking it out themselves. Songcatchers, In Search of the World's Music. What's that project about?
Well, that's a work I did for National Geographic, and it really tells of our history with recorded sound and who were the people who went out in the field to gather all this indigenous music from all over the world. And much of it at the Bishop, I might add. They have an enormous collection. You should always go to the Bishop and find that wonderful music they have there. The old Kahuna chants and from Hawaii are at the Bishop. But they're in archives all around the world. This tells the stories of how the adventure, the romance, the heroics of all these people since 1890 who've gone out and captured that music. That's what songcatchers really mean. It's not about the studio. It's about field recording. And, much of the music of indigenous Hawaii music has been lost. But you could find it in places like the Bishop.
That's a great plug for them, man. I love the local connection from you. Mahalo, brother. And on that technical front, I think that it's an important side of you that people maybe don't often appreciate. Some of what you've mentioned, you're credited as we begin to talk about the Closing of the Winterland with, in fact, doing the 5.1 sound design. It says on the inside. Now, for the rest of us, could you explain what does that mean?
Well, it's a new medium. It's a world standard. It's There are 5 speakers and a subwoofer. That's the point one. So it's surround sound. It's not 2 speakers. Stereo is kind of on the way out.
Correct.
Maybe you'll find in 10 years, maybe you could find a stereo unit in Mongolia or something. But, stereo is like going to prison. So 5.1 is where it's at. It's the way the ear hears it. It's a 360-degree instrument, the ear, and we're used to sound just coming out of 1 or 2 speakers. So this is a new state of the art, and I remixed American Beauty and Working Man's Dead in 5.1 about 2 years ago. So there is a lot of material now being made available in this new medium.
It's a fantastic production job on the entire Closing of Winterland, and I like some of the aside from the musical moments, which are incredible, there's some funny snapshots in time on the DVD's bonus section, and I think fans will enjoy that 2 a.m. interview, and it's you and Bobby Weir getting interviewed by that PBS station that were handling the broadcast. It's where the guys call you Phil Lesh afterward, if you recall. What's your impression looking back and when you saw that as this was coming to light, and anything that popped into your mind?
We were in great form that night. It was a good night for us. Normally, New Year's Eve isn't the best musical night in our year. It's more about celebration, and perhaps we're over the edge. A lot of people running around backstage, a lot of confusion. This worked really well. It was, it was about a 6-hour run. You got out of Winterland when the sun was shining, when the sun came up. So it was one of those old-time moments that was really, it worked. And Kesey was there, Ken Kesey, and the pranksters, and it was a hometown brew, actually. We always felt that Winterland was our home, and it was an old skating rink, and
right.
It was falling down. Pieces of the roof were falling on us, so it was about time to put it into history, and we did it proud. You
mentioned that, in fact, where Bobby maybe is the one who mentions it, I'm not sure, in that 2 a.m. interview section. Again, this is bonus material in the Closing of Winterland, the DVD that's now out from the Grateful Dead, and there's a moment where Bobby mentions, and I think you could correct me if I'm wrong, that the ceiling was falling during a sound check, and David Crosby almost was hit with a piece of it or something?
Yeah, right. He moved right out of the way, just in time. The Cross would have had another little dent in his skull.
Another day in rock history that, for sure, relating to him. Well, what do you think is your finest or most prominent? It doesn't have to be a fine moment; it can be any sort of moment. But some memory of the Closing of Winterland, of that evening, which you were there and a major part of.
I remember one part of it that was real interesting was that Kesey and Babs, the pranksters, they wanted to set off this giant explosion during the Rhythm Devils, during the drum segment, and of course, in typical prankster fashion, they never really tried it out. So the blast was like 10 times louder and bigger than anybody thought. It just rocked the whole stage, and it scared, it just scared you to death. I mean, it was like a bomb, and you can hear it on the recording. I made sure that everyone was able to really get the force of that explosion, which was a sonic wonder, really, on the recording.
That's cool, man.
I remember Kesey coming out in this. Also, they had the thing called the Thunder Machine, which is on there. Kesey comes out, rolls out in this little, like a little submarine, and he's playing stuff inside, and it rolls across the stage. It was a crazy, crazy, crazy night.
Was this stuff rehearsed at all, Mickey, or just?
Oh, you never rehearse this part. This is the rhythm segment, the drum stuff. The one thing we never do is rehearse it. That's the only rule, is never rehearse.
I guess I mean more the New Year's props and the sequence of using crazy stuff on New Year's.
What's that?
I'm referring more to augmenting the music with props and things on New Year's Eve. Like, is that stuff run through in advance, or you guys just sort of, when it happened, it was...
The Grateful Dead really can't rehearse the Grateful Dead. It just rolls out, as you say, and it just happens. Sometimes we say, okay, do whatever you're going to do at this time. And it's sort of an adventure for us to see what happens as well. So we don't want to spoil it by rehearsing it. Rehearsal
does seem to be a word that would be opposite to something you'd put in a Grateful Dead vocabulary, for sure.
The Grateful Dead was not meant for that. I mean, you rehearse stuff if you're playing with Britney Spears, or
sure,
or whatever, when you're doing that kind of show, that thing. But the Grateful Dead is not a show; it's more like an experience for me. And if you can rehearse the experience right out, well, we never really tried to do that. Actually, we used to try to do that, and then we realized we couldn't do it effectively, and so we just dropped it. I mean, I remember I said, Bob, play what you played last night. And, of course, Bob could never play what he played last night, or anybody. And we would get on the poor guy, and And then we realized, hey, we didn't want to do this. We didn't want to be cops. So we just said, hey, this band just doesn't do that. Let's let it go, and just see what happens. And so it served us well.
That's a fascinating insight into the improvisation of the Dead, and it did serve you well. It served us well too, man. And it is a great package. I do want to mention to folks, because we give away a lot of these DVDs that are coming out, and I don't have to tell you because you're much more a part of the industry than I am, that there are a lot of bands who release these sorts of things, and yours is an impressive one in that not only is the packaging stellar relating to the DVDs, but there's like a color booklet inserted on really nice paper. There are things about this that other bands might not bother with. The details, the touches and the details of it, you really are to be commended for. Nice work on it, Mickey.
Thank you.
And of all the numerous New Year's Eve shows, because you're sort of the many things the band are pioneers for and are known for, New Year's has always been an element, and the special performances you do. From the Boston Tea Party all the way to the Oakland and Bay Area sites, what are some, or is there a show that sticks out of all of them that you could say is the most exceptional, or a highlight in your personal experience?
Well, there was one show I remember when Bill Grant, I think it might have even been this one, he had come down and, it may not have been this one. I can't remember which one it was, but it was one of them. And he was like about 20 minutes late or 30 minutes late for New Year's. And but he was trying to do 2 or 3 New Year's around the Bay Area, 2 or 3 venues going. And he came and I said, hey, Bill, you're late. It's 20 after 12. And he put his finger in my chest and he said, Mickey, and he kept poking my chest. It's New Year's when I say it's New Year's. And that's what I really remember about. And I remember about New Year's. It's New Year's when he says it is. Whether it be 11:30 or 12:30, that's when New Year's were. So he was a funny guy. So he always used to do these spectacular entrances. This time he came in on a big doobie.
Yeah.
He was throwing. He rode in on a joint, throwing doobies out to the whole crowd, fencing him. I mean, you don't get to see that every day. That's Father Time.
No, you don't.
No, you don't see that.
That was one of Bill's many great roles, absolutely.
Yeah. This was really his moment.
Yeah, and you're right. That was a night that was certainly a Bill Graham night, too, huh?
We were just sort of the soundtrack. It was Bill's moment.
You're not kidding.
And we thought he was paying for it, but in reality, once we looked back, we paid for it.
Right. Yeah, I've heard you say that before. Bill was a crafty one. It was a great party on your expense.
Great party we threw for ourselves.
That's cool, man. Finally, Mickey, and I'll let you go because I know you're a really busy guy. Yeah. I'd be remiss if I know you mentioned the Bishop, and it's cool. You obviously have a local connection here. I want to let you know that you'd be warmly welcomed. Any visit by you or the Dead to Honolulu and Oahu in general, please consider us for a concert date.
I will. I'll pass that on to the lads.
Let them know that you have fans here and appreciative people in general to greet you.
I will.
A big mahalo to the legendary Mickey Hart. The Grateful Dead's The Closing of Winterland is out now as a 4-CD set and a 2-DVD set. You can go to dead.net and also mickeyhart.net for more information. And 105.9 The Big Kahuna, Honolulu's only classic rock. Thanks you for your time, Mickey Hart.
Oh, thank you, Kahuna. Take care. And Hawaii. Bye-bye. Hi, this is Mickey Hart of the Dead. You're listening to Dave Lawrence, the Big Kahuna, Hawaii's only classic rock station.